Welcome to the NFL Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The NFL Show is brought to you daily by BetNow.eu for a 100% cash back bonus up to your first deposit of $500. Make sure you use the promo code TRUTH100. Also, you can go to thegruelingtruth.com, click on the Bet Now banner at the top of the page, use the promo code TRUTH100. I am your co-host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, Anthony Cervino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing great, Mike. How are you?
Yes, I am freaking awesome. I'm better than New York Jet fans, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it's real tough. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the Thursday night football game tonight, the second win of the season. And we've got two former Heisman Trophy winners and number one overall picks, Cam Newton and Jameis Winston, lead their teams into the game tonight. Though it's just week 2, this is a division, Anthony, that did not fare too well in week 1 outside of the Saints.
Yeah, you're right. The Saints were the only team that came out with a win, and all of the other teams in this division, they barely put up a fight. You can make the case that the Panthers kept it close, but Cam Newton looked atrocious. Tampa Bay realistically got blown out by the 49ers, and the Falcons, they were down 21 points in an instant to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, and it wasn't pretty. Really, the Panthers were kind of in the game, but I watched a lot of that game, and I never really got the feeling there was any chance that they were going to win the game against the Rams.
I thought there was a slight chance because they kept it so close, but not with the way Cam Newton was playing. There's something going on with Cam. I don't know if it's his throwing motion. I don't know if it's the shoulder. I don't know if it's Norv Turner. But he didn't attempt a lot of deep passes. Maybe it's a good thing because he's not that accurate. But when you have a weapon like Curtis Samuel, who's very versatile, can line up on the outside in the slot, you also have DJ Moore. It's not like he's playing with Devin Funchess as his number one anymore. There's no more excuses.
Yeah, and I think the big enigma this game are the quarterbacks, Cam Newton, Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, 3 interceptions in a season-opening slip-up. Did nothing to quell talk that Winston's days as Tampa Bay's franchise quarterback need to conclude. They added Bruce Arians. A lot of people thought, Bruce Arians would be able to resurrect his career like he did Carson Palmer's. And that was definitely not the case against the 49ers as he threw 2 picks that were returned for touchdowns. And you've always got the chance that maybe Winston will play great tonight because he's inconsistent as hell. But what's your take on Winston and the Bucs coming into this game?
I mean, it's early to say this is a must-win game, but it's a must-win game for both of these teams. I don't have a ton of confidence in Jameis Winston. I've never been a Jameis Winston guy. I think the offense will eventually come together. I think Jameis will put up big numbers, but with his big numbers, he will make a lot of mistakes. You bring up his 3 interceptions. He also fumbled twice and is lucky he didn't have 5 turnovers.
Yeah, and I think with Cam Newton, we all know he's at least a good starting quarterback in the NFL, but the question has to be, is his shoulder all right? Because he threw the ball more than 20 yards just once in 38 attempts.
Is it his shoulder or is it confidence at this point?
I don't know. I mean, it's the shoulder because the shoulder is probably what causes the lack of confidence, maybe. And
I mean, he has a
with,
matchup tonight. He has a matchup he can exploit.
The big problem for Cam Newton is this, though. Cam Newton is a guy who I don't think has ever really used his lower body that much when he throws the ball. And what I'm saying is your feet should move with your eyes and your arms when you throw a football. And a lot of times he doesn't. He just kind of strong arms the ball. And that shoulder injury probably, it does make a bigger impact on a quarterback like Cam Newton that doesn't use his lower body as much as he should. And that strain, I think, causes even more issues, Anthony. And I think when you do that, and that's been his problem. That's why he's a guy that doesn't complete over 60% of his passes normally, because technically he's not real sound, and he puts a lot of stress on that shoulder to begin with, which I think is one of the reasons why he's had the problems.
The last time these two teams played, I believe Cam was already dealing with the shoulder. He threw 4 interceptions, and this was December 2nd of last season. Jameis Winston is a turnover machine. I'm hoping this game isn't as ugly as it could be.
Yeah, because we could get 9-3 or we could get 46-7. So when you talk about that, I mean, I still think, and I brought this up on NFL shows at the end of last year, I think they would be better off to shut Cam down for this entire year and then bring him back the next year.
I don't know. And do what? And what quarterback are you going to put out there?
It doesn't matter. They're not winning anything this year with Cam Newton throwing the ball the way he is anyways, Anthony. I mean, we've got a quarterback who doesn't throw the ball mechanically properly, who has a weak shoulder, and his shoulder is not going to get better, I don't think, through the season because of the way he throws the football. Or if you let him rest it, he's fine. We go on. But a lot of people were picking the Carolina Panthers at the start of the year to do all these great things, and I just don't see it. I mean, this is a team where Christian McCaffrey's got to do everything, and eventually he's got to get tired. So I don't think this is a team that's winning anything either way right now.
I think if the Panthers can squeeze out a win tonight, they'll get a 10-day rest because it's a Thursday night game, and they'll be right back in the mix. It gives Cam a little bit more rest, and I don't mind Christian McCaffrey shouldering the load and taking the pressure off of Cam Newton. They just need somebody else, one of their other playmakers, to step up, and I'm going to keep bringing up Curtis Samuel because of his versatility, and they can hand the ball off to him too, and he can break it. He's the player that they need to get more touches. He only had 4 targets last week. That's not enough. You need to get the ball in Curtis Samuel's hand and let him make plays.
Well, this is a front office thing, too, I think, because, once again, you draft a quarterback really high. The offensive line is not great for the Panthers. They haven't really addressed that. And there's not enough weapons, I don't think, for Cam Newton to take this team back to the Super Bowl.
See, I disagree. I think the weapons are there. I believe in their weapons. Now, Greg Olsen, he's expected to play tonight, but he is dealing with an injury. He had 9 targets last week. DJ Moore, an early first-round draft pick. My issue with the Panthers is on the defensive side of the ball. They don't have that defense that they had the year they went to the Super Bowl. On offense, I think they have enough firepower. They need a defense to show up.
They need a defensive line and some DBs. Linebacker, they're all right, but there's no depth there. I think another question here is how will Gerald McCoy impact the game tonight against his old team? He was released in the spring following 9 standout seasons in Tampa Bay. What kind of effect do you think that Gerald McCoy will make on this game?
Gerald McCoy should be on the other side of the line of scrimmage for the whole game. He's going to have opportunities to get to Jameis Winston, and the Buccaneers don't exactly have the best tandem of running backs. So Gerald McCoy can control this game on the defensive side of the ball just by living on the other side of the line of scrimmage and getting some tackles from Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones for losses.
Yeah, and when you look at this matchup, the thing that stands out to me with the Panthers and the Bucs, I mean, both teams are kind of enigmas for us. We really don't know what we got here. Tampa Bay has a ton of weapons on offense, but their quarterback's an issue. I think the offensive line's a little bit of an issue. And defensive line-wise, you got Ndamukong Suh playing for the Bucs, and, of course, McCoy's mad because Suh got his old jersey of number 93. I don't know why he cares. But I think this is a game where I wrote the article picking the Panthers to win the game because I think it's the safe pick, but we really don't have any clue what's going to happen in this game, especially with these two quarterbacks.
The winner, I'm going to pick the Panthers as well, but I believe the winner of this game is going to be the team whose quarterback turns the ball over the least.
Yeah, which is what scares me with both of these quarterbacks. And
but on Tampa Bay, you bring up their weapons. When you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and O.J. Howard, and Evans only had 5 targets, Chris Godwin led the team with 6, and O.J. Howard had about 4, that's not enough. I don't know what Bruce Arians is supposed to be doing. I don't know where this magic is, but that's not enough. You got to get the ball in your receiver's hands.
Yeah, I think part of getting the ball in the receiver's hands is Ronald Jones needs to continue to emerge, because I don't think with Jameis Winston at quarterback in this Bucs offense, I don't think they could succeed without a balanced attack.
The question is, can Ronald Jones do it? Because last year he definitely did. And last week he surprised with about 75 yards on the ground.
Yeah, and Peyton Barber averaged a little over 4 yards per carry. But I don't think Jameis Winston could be a success without that running game, because teams are not going to respect the running game, because they're going to sit back in zones and they're going to try to confuse Jameis Winston and just get as many turnovers as they can. And that's been the MO. That's what Jameis Winston gives you. He gives you turnovers.
Now, what do you think the biggest key to this game is?
The biggest key to this game,
outside of the quarterbacks.
Actually, I think the biggest key to every game is always the same thing, and that's the offensive line and the defensive line. And neither defense. I think the Bucs defense put pressure on the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think the big key here is Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber. I think if they could successfully run the ball, combine for 130, 140 yards and keep a little of the pressure off of Winston, I think they've got a chance here, because I think the Bucs defense can actually get after Cam Newton with their front 7, and I think they can be successful. That's kind of what I take this, is defensive pressure on the quarterback, because that's going to lead to the turnovers. So we know that Cam Newton's going to have a running game, because Christian McCaffrey, I think, is the best running back in the NFL. So can Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber get the job done to make this a balanced attack, to make it so they just can't force Jameis Winston to beat him through the air?
I think they'll have the opportunity to, because the Panthers, I don't believe in their defense, especially their run defense. But, Christian McCaffrey last season, if Tampa Bay cannot find a way to contain him, it's going to be a long game, because last season in both games, Christian McCaffrey, I think he totaled 3 touchdowns and over 125 yards in each game.
How many people does he not do that to? Because
actually over 150. Over 150, I'm wrong.
We've got Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley's, guys like that. I still think Christian McCaffrey is the best all-around running back in the NFL.
It's funny, the knock on him when he came out was his size. And do you see every offseason, you see this guy's arms get bigger and bigger. He can go into a bodybuilding competition.
Yeah, he can't get taller, but he keeps getting wider. And somehow when he gets wider, he gets even faster. And against the Rams, and this is the thing that would concern me if I'm the Bucs, is the Rams have a really good defensive line. They've got some solid linebackers, and McCaffrey still got him for 19 carries, 128 yards, caught the ball 10 times for 81 yards. And to me, if you could just get Cam Newton to play within himself, and I hate when people say it, but if he could just manage the game and not turn the ball over, with Christian McCaffrey in his backfield, this team would be a bitch to beat.
Yeah, and that's the reason, everything you just named is the reason why people like the Panthers and pick them to win.
But see, everything that I see and why I pick them to win this game, but the reason I still think they're a 500 team, give or take a game, is because of Cam Newton, because he has not shown the evolution of a quarterback that you want to see. Usually a quarterback, especially if he's starting early in his career, you get to like year 4 or 5, and he has improved. He's at his best. Cam Newton from 3 years ago is better than Cam Newton today. I don't know if that's the shoulder. or what it is, but it's just true. Cam Newton's not as good as he was 3 years ago or 2 years ago right now.
Now, is this a Cam Newton? Do you think that he's losing a step? Because the thing about Cam, he was a bitch to tackle. I feel like he made more big plays with his legs, and we haven't really seen that in the past 2 years.
Yeah, but I think also this, over time, people kind of learn to defend that. And it's not like Cam Newton's Randall Cunningham. But the difference between Cam Newton and Randall Cunningham that Randall Cunningham proved later in his career is he could stand in the pocket, read a defense, and pick a defense apart. And Cam Newton, I don't think, can do that. And, you know, I hate to bring this up, but the way he acted after they lost that Super Bowl, the way he acts when he dresses like whatever the hell he dresses like when he shows up to the games. To
Dwayne
me,
Wade. It looks like he shops in Dwayne Wade's wardrobe.
I don't think Dwayne Wade's wardrobe is that bad. But what I see is, to me, with Cam Newton, and I'm just going to put it out there, I think he's a guy that's more worried about himself than he is about his team. And I think that's why he has not progressed as a quarterback.
You know, and that is a take. I say that all the time on the FF Faceoff. Mike Hoff, my co-host, is a big Cam Newton guy. And I said, he's more worried about what he looks like than football sometimes. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and that's the way I take him. And I'm sorry.
I mean, look at the press conference, or they had an interview that I watched recently, and talking about maybe Norv Turner had Christian McCaffrey on his fantasy team making jokes and was calling play. Did you hear that?
No. I don't.
Yeah, like, come on. I don't know. He just rubs me the wrong way. Like, take a game a little bit more serious.
Yeah, and I don't think that he does take it very serious. I think he takes the part. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, the look at me crap with the way you dress post-game and pre-game, you don't see Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Andy Dalton or Russell Wilson or, I mean, any of those guys show up like that. Because they mean business. They're going to win a football game, not to put on a freaking fashion show. And it really gets sickening to me. And it gets sickening to me that when I've said this before, like on Survive in Advance, I'll get like direct messages on Twitter telling me what a racist I am. I'm not a racist. I love Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson does things the way they're supposed to be done. You know? Kirk Cousins, he's a moron. He's white. I called him a moron. And Cam Newton is selfish. He's arrogant, and he doesn't care. I mean, he's just out there to make Cam Newton look good. And he got a shot at a Super Bowl. It's the only shot he'll ever get, and he blew it. And he acted like a general jackass after it, and it gets old. I mean, and then, you know, if you say something bad about a black quarterback, you're supposed to be a racist. No, I just call a dumbass a dumbass. And Cam Newton's a dumbass. How about that one, Anthony?
To each his own.
So you disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I just, you know, I stay away from the politically correct or incorrect
See, this is the thing. So do I. That's why I don't care. I am smart enough to watch and know what I see when I see a quarterback. And the most important things to me with a quarterback are intelligence, the ability to take responsibility for the things that go wrong, even if they're not your fault, because you have a team and you're supposed to be the leader. And number 3 is toughness. Out of those 3, I'll give Cam Newton toughness. That's it.
Yeah, I don't disagree there.
Yeah, where when I'm talking about Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, I'll give them all 3. Drew Brees, all 3. All right, let's go ahead and let's talk about Trevor Siemian and if he's tough or not, because Sam Darnold is out with mononucleosis. So now we got Trevor Siemian. We've also got Quinnen Williams, who did not practice yesterday. C.J. Mosley did not practice. And I know when we came on air, you told me, Anthony, Le'Veon Bell is undergoing a MRI on his shoulder.
Le'Veon Bell is getting an MRI on his shoulder, which means Ty Montgomery's the next man up. You have Trevor Siemian. This is a game. This is a Jets team that a lot of people had hope in. It was going to be a change of direction, and in a matter of days into the season, you lose Quincy Enunwa. You have all these other injuries. Your starting quarterback, of all things, mono. Your high-profile running back, free agent running back, who hasn't taken a hit in over a year and a half. He gets a little bit banged up after one game. I mean, it's just not a good look. And now you have the Browns coming to town.
Yeah. Well, at least they got the Browns coming to town. The Browns might be a bigger mess even without the injuries.
I'll tell you what, this is going to be a very interesting game because this is a game the Browns, they need to come out, they need to win, and they need to establish themselves because just to win against a number 2 quarterback and a team with all these injuries, you can't just win the game. You kind of have to do what the Titans did to them, to the New York Jets on Monday night. If they squeak by a field goal, I don't think it's enough.
Yeah.
And God forbid if they lose.
Oh, yeah. If they lose and they're losing to Trevor Siemian, all hell breaks loose in Cleveland if it hasn't already. So, here's one. Did you see this? Because I saw this last night, and then I looked into it, where Eric Smith, at Bearded DJ, did you see that? He was the guy that was kicked out of the Cleveland game, Cleveland, Tennessee, because... Logan Ryan basically had something poured on him or something. And Eric Smith, I saw this last night. He says, I legit just got a call from the App Browns telling me I've been banned from the stadium for throwing the beer in Logan Ryan's face Sunday. I'm fairly certain I haven't been to a game since 2010.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard a little bit. I didn't really get into details on this story, but what the hell's going on?
I'm just looking at it now. Let's see. Our investigation of a fan incident on Sunday at First Energy Stadium remains ongoing, the Browns said in a statement Wednesday night, so we know they were wrong. While we are continuing to gather information, have been in contact with multiple people as part of the process, we have not explicitly identified individuals involved or taken any formal action or punishment at this time. So basically, this guy got a call that said that Eric Smith was the fan who tossed a beer on the player or in the player's face. They then banned him and then find out that the guy hasn't been to a game since 2010. Go Browns.
Can't win them all. Can't
The
win them all.
Browns don't win any of them, do they?
I'm more surprised because I think John Dorsey is a very good general manager, and I'm very surprised about and maybe it's just me about the Freddie Kitchens hire. That's always gonna, and I understand Baker. They want to put Baker with an offensive mind. I don't know. I just when you could have had a Mike McCarthy, who I believe was willing to go to Cleveland or New York.
Mike McCarthy's a joke. He's soft.
He's better than Freddie. Is he not an upgrade over Freddie?
I don't know. Because you know what? Mike McCarthy was coaching with Aaron Rodgers and couldn't win a Super Bowl. Well, he did a long time ago. But I don't know if he's better than Freddie Kitchens. I think he's kind of the same. I think he's a guy. He let Aaron Rodgers do whatever the hell Aaron Rodgers wanted, which in the end bit him in the ass. I mean, I think what you need in Cleveland, I'll compare it to this. 1970s, the Cincinnati Bengals were one of the best teams in football most years. You had Paul Brown retired, made the mistake of not hiring Bill Walsh, hired Bill Tiger Johnson, and even with a ton of talent, they go through Homer Rice, and then at the end of the 79 season, they hired Forrest Gregg, who went in and he busted everybody's ass. And the Bengals were a soft team under Homer Rice and Bill Tiger Johnson, still pretty much the same talent. And in 1980, you get 6 wins. In 81, you get a Super Bowl. And I think Cleveland needs somebody that's no nonsense, that will go up, not take any shit from anybody, whether it's Baker Mayfield or Odell Beckham Jr. I think that's the kind of guy they need. And I don't think Mike McCarthy's that guy. So, yeah, McCarthy's probably a better hire than Kitchens. But they need somebody to go up there and get stuff going in the right direction and not take any crap anymore.
Monday night is, like I said, Monday night's going to be a big game. It's one of the games I'm very, very excited to see. Even with all the Jets issues, I want to see how the Browns respond. I want to see if they're different or if they're just the same old Browns.
I don't think we'll know that from this game because either way they should win the game with especially if the Jets are missing Williams, Bell, Darnold, C.J. Mosley. So that's a game they should win. But actually, I could buy it if you say if they come out and beat the Jets 35-10, then I would feel much better. If they come out and they win 17-10, I think you've got an issue. All right, Hunter Henry's in the news again. The LA Chargers tight end has once again been bitten by the injury bug, suffering a tibial plateau fracture to his left knee during Sunday's game against the Indianapolis Colts. So, once again, Hunter Henry is out, Anthony.
Yeah, and this is just, perennially an issue for the Chargers where they're dealing with injuries. They're dealing with big-time injuries, whether you're talking about a Hunter Henry, Melvin Gordon holding out, Derwin James, a couple of offensive line injuries, I believe. And now there's a chance that Mike Williams might miss some time. Their receiver on the other side of Keenan Allen. I don't know what the Chargers are going to do or how they're going to recover.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry is going to be a significant loss. I believe Antonio Gates is a free agent. I know they brought Gates back last year after Hunter Henry initially went down. Gates didn't do much. I think they have Virgil Green who can step up, but it's tough for Chargers. Talking about Jets fans, Chargers fans, it's just they can't catch a break either.
I'm a Bengals fan. A.J. Green and Cordy Glenn have been out.
Well, A.J. has the walking boot off.
Yeah.
So he'll be back sooner rather than later.
I'm more worried about Cordy Glenn, to tell you the truth, so we can get Andre Smith's fat ass off an NFL football field.
I'll never forget Andre Smith on Hard Knocks.
Oh, was that where he ran the 40?
Running.
Oh, yeah.
Running.
I'll tell you, it looked like Bo Derek on the beach with a beer gut. If you've ever seen the movie 10.
I still have flashbacks of that run.
My son still brings it up because every time it's 2nd and goal at the 6, and for some reason Zach Taylor decided to run the ball behind Andre Smith, and Smith gets blown up. The play goes for nothing, and then he gets a 10-yard holding call on it. And my son just looked at me and said, "There goes Tits again," because my son, who is 19 now, has always called him Tits just because of the Hard Knocks. The thing that's amazing is the Bengals continue to bring him back every year.
It's Mike Brown. Blame Mike Brown.
It's Katie Blackburn now. And I think it was Katie that won him to begin with because we're run by Katie Blackburn Brown, which is Mike Brown's daughter. I wanted to bring up another one that I noticed here. The Atlanta Falcons rookie right guard Chris Lindstrom received high praise from his teammates for playing 9 offensive snaps with a broken right foot in a 28-12 loss to the Minnesota Vikings. Lindstrom's a guy that I think we both liked on the NFL draft show, didn't we? And he is definitely showing he's tough enough to play in the NFL.
Yeah, I do think we both liked him.
Yeah, I know I did. I can't remember if you did, but I think you did. But all right, so how about this? You're on the FF Face-Off. We've got a football game tonight that I'm sure fantasy football fans and guys that play fantasy football are looking at. Do you have any sleeper in the game tonight or anybody that you should definitely sit or start?
Well, I actually like both quarterbacks tonight, fantasy-wise, because it seems like every time they play each other, or at least in the past couple of games for Jameis Winston, he's put up at least 23 fantasy points. For Cam Newton, he's had at least 19 in each of the past 3 games. Christian McCaffrey in his past 2, of course, over 20 fantasy points per game. Peyton Barber might be a player you want to look at. He scored in the last game, didn't really do much, only 2.8 yards per carry, but he did score on December 2nd. And the wide receivers in this game, Mike Evans has been shut down in the past 2 games. In fact, Mike Evans normally doesn't produce against the Panthers. Chris Godwin could be a player who can find the end zone. He's a player that Bruce Arians really loves, and he's also a player that has a great rapport with Jameis Winston. And I like Curtis Samuel a lot tonight. If you want to sleep or nobody's paying attention to Curtis Samuel because he only got 4 targets last week, I think he's a player who could get in his groove tonight.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
No, I think we hit on the key points of for today.
All right, and we will be back tomorrow where me and Anthony will do kind of capsulize each matchup in a couple minutes, make our picks straight up. So you can check us out tomorrow at noon. And also, it looks like we have the capability to take calls now if anybody wants to chime in and let us know their opinions. That phone number tomorrow will be 812-496-0852. We will blast that on our Twitter tonight. Anthony will put it on his Twitter. And hopefully you guys listen in tomorrow. Maybe we can get a little bit of feedback and everybody that attacks Anthony through Twitter and email for his FF Face-Off show can take it out on him here then.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I can't wait. I want to take these calls. I love it.
All right. Anthony is challenging everybody to call him. All right. We're going to wrap it up. I say all right an awful lot. I got to stop that. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Anthony Cervino at the FF Face-Off, what's your Twitter handle, Anthony?
At The Real NFL Guru and then also at the FF Face-Off for the podcast.
All right, he does that with Mike Hoff, and actually, if you go to thegruelingtruth.com today, you'll find their latest show, which is on Spreaker right now for us. We just got to transfer it over to the website, so make sure you keep an eye out there. But you can hear all of our podcasts on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Anthony Cervino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.